Happy Sunday. Welcome to Unity North Spiritual Center Sunday lesson on July 19th, 2020. I'm Reverend Kathy McCall, and I'm glad you're with us this morning or this afternoon, whenever you may be listening to this. If you're new with us for the first time, our website is unitynorthmn.org. We invite you to check us out and look for upcoming events. We're having a lot of virtual kinds of things happening at this time. So we hope you join in each week. So I'll begin first with our daily word, and I'm going to read tomorrow's daily word. It's a little more fitting for the times. And then I'll follow it by the lesson today, which is called Loving Kindness. So let's begin with our daily word. Just take a moment, center yourself. Close your eyes if you like. Touching the spiritual presence within, I find inner peace. The word is inner peace. Sometimes I feel as if the world is swirling around me and moving so fast that it's hard for me to stay grounded. When I feel this way, it seems as though the peace of God is far away. I know just what to do. I begin by taking several long, deep breaths. I focus my attention on my breath and reclaim my inner stillness. Now calm, I turn within and align my awareness with the divine spirit that is at the very core of my being. My soul becomes quiet and peaceful as I consciously commune with God. When I feel ready, I bring my attention to the outer world. My experience of swirling has stopped. I bring the blissful stillness of the peace of God with me everywhere I go, and I feel blessed. From Judges 6:23, but the Lord said to him, "Peace be to you. Do not fear. You shall not die." So we give thanks for inner peace. So loving kindness. A cartoon in a San Francisco paper showed a man walking down the street with a signboard that proclaimed, "Jesus is coming." Half a block behind was another fellow wearing a signboard that read, "Buddha here now." In spiritual maturity, we realize that both Buddha and Jesus are here now in everyone we meet. We realize that knowing our divinity is an important way to love one another. We are all here to shine God's light in the world. And this is knowing our divinity and loving one another. One way we do that, shine God's light in the world, is through loving kindness. The Buddhist word metta, M-E-T-T-A, is referred to as loving kindness, benevolence, friendliness, goodwill, and active interest in others. The cultivation of loving kindness, or metta, is a popular meditation in Buddhism. In Christian scripture, the word hesed, spelled C-H-E-S-E-D, hesed, comes from the Hebrew, and it means kindness or love between people and towards God. We can think of shining God's light in the world as practicing loving kindness wherever we go. It comes first from a heart of compassion for self and others. Dr. Andrea Pennington wrote, "We are worthy of love and forgiveness." So many of us struggle with the concept of self-compassion. It seems we carry around a belief that we're unworthy of the tenderness and kindness we would give a child or a person in pain. Yet we too are in need of compassion and tenderness as we move through life and the world. While it seems so automatic to judge ourselves, the truth remains we are worthy just as we are. By shifting our perspective to one of love, we can easily recognize that despite our shortcomings and no matter our past mistakes, we are worthy of all good things in life. So if we look at ourselves as extensions of the divine light, we see that we are perfect at our core. Before the judgments of the world are projected onto us, we are whole and complete. And as we bumble or crash through life, we still deserve forgiveness. There's a story by Ed and Deb Shapiro that at the time of the Buddha, a group of monks wanted to do a quiet retreat away from the crowds of followers, so the Buddha sent them to a glade in the forest where he said they would be undisturbed. The monks found their way there and settled down to meditate. But what they did not know was that a gang of tree spirits inhabited the glade, and they were really upset that the monks had come. And when tree spirits get upset, they can be extremely scary, ugly, very smelly, and unbelievably noisy, ferociously shrieking all over the place. They did everything they could to spook the hermits and make them leave. And it worked. The monks couldn't possibly meditate with so many disturbances, so they went back to the Buddha and they begged him to let them go somewhere else. But the Buddha said no. Instead, he taught them a meditation practice of loving kindness, or metta in Sanskrit, which develops loving kindness towards everyone, including yourself and your enemies. And then he sent the monks back to the forest. His famous words were, "Loving kindness is the only protection you will need." So thinking the Buddha must be mad, the monks reluctantly went back to the glade, sat down, and began practicing the loving kindness meditation. And the tree spirits, who at first were not at all pleased to see them returning, no longer had any effect on them. For all their antics, for all their antics, the monks just kept sitting there and beaming out loving kindness. Eventually, the tree spirits were won over by the waves of love and compassion emanating from these robed ones. And far from trying to chase them away, the same nasties that had been so ferocious now became disciples. So the question is, who are the tree spirits? They are everything that goes on in our minds. All the doubts, insecurities, fears, anger, negative thoughts that constantly undermine our balance and positivity. And the point the Buddha was making is that loving kindness has the capacity to overcome all manner of inner monsters and ghouls and lead us to a true heart opening. We know this sounds so easy. Just be kind and loving. How great. What a cool idea. But in practice, it's definitely not always so easy, such as when someone says or does something that is personally critical or hurtful. Can metta still flow when the ego is upset? Well, by focusing on loving kindness as a way of living, it shows us all those places that are bound in selfishness. It brings us up against our limitations. Where is our capacity to step into greater kindness? Metta is the act of extending our love, kindness, and friendship equally towards all beings, proving that love is more powerful than any negative force. So rather than trying to deal with negativity, we cultivate the opposite. Seeing and knowing pain, we bring loving kindness. Then amazing change is possible. The compassion meditation practice can be very helpful to cultivate the practice of loving kindness. And let's try it briefly. Begin by taking 5 deep, slow breaths. Breathe in through your nose slowly to the count of 6. Hold your breath for 2 counts and exhale slowly to the count of 6. And we do this for 5 breaths. Let's start again. Begin by taking 5 slow breaths, breathing in slowly to the count of 6. Hold your breath for 2 and exhale slowly to the count of 6. Do this for 5 breaths. And with your hands resting on your lap, or on your heart if you wish, recite the loving kindness phrases and really try to generate the feeling of kindness, friendliness, and compassion. Starting with yourself, say, "May I be free from suffering." Together, "May I be free from suffering. May I be peaceful and truly happy." Together, "May I be peaceful and truly happy. May I be well in body, mind, and heart. May I be well in body, mind, and heart. May I live with ease. May I live with ease." As you feel the warmth coming from your heart, a sincere desire that you not suffer, see if you can extend that feeling to someone you care about. Imagine a dear friend or loved one and repeat the phrases. May you be free from suffering. May you be free from suffering. May you be peaceful and truly happy. May you be peaceful and truly happy. May you be well in body, mind, and heart. May you be well in body, mind, and heart. May you live with ease. May you live with ease. Finally, as you bask in these wonderful feelings of kindness and compassion, extend the wish to all beings on the planet. Spend a few minutes allowing this wave of loving kindness to swirl around you and radiate out from you. Take this feeling of connectedness with you throughout your day, always remembering that you too are worthy of a life free from suffering, full of peace and true happiness. Well, one can perform random acts of kindness as a way to practice loving kindness. And here are a few examples. A woman writes, "My 4 grown children were all home visiting this weekend, so we decided to go out for brunch. The center of attention was my toddler granddaughter. She had never had pancakes before, so we were excited about trying them. We always try to make our family meals special. So this time we decided to order every kind of pancake they had and ask that they be served on one big family-style platter. We each took turns digging in and also feeding it to the baby who loved them. And there was a lovely environment at the table and lots of smiles. And as I was looking around the table, enjoying this wonderful scene, a gentleman at a nearby table caught my eye. He was eating his breakfast alone quietly in the corner, and he frequently looked over and smiled as my granddaughter continued to entertain us all. Suddenly I had a great idea. I dug out a smile card from the reserve that I always carry with me, and I snuck up to the waitress. I explained to her I wanted to pay that man's bill anonymously, and instead of the bill, could she please give him the smile card? Our leisurely breakfast was still going on after the gentleman had left, and the waitress came over and told us the man had passed the smile card on and paid for another table before he left. How great. Well, not only that, the waitress came back later and told us the second table had now paid for someone else and passed the smile card on too. I couldn't believe it then when the waitress came back and told us the third table had done the same thing. What was really amazing, though, was that by the time we left, half the room had ended up paying for a different table. Awesome. A man writes, leaving a store, I returned to my car only to find I'd locked my keys and cell phone inside. A teenager riding his bike saw me kick a tire and say a few choice words. What's wrong, he asked. I explained my situation. But even if I could call my wife, I said, she can't bring me her car key since this is our only car. He handed me his cell phone. Call your wife, he said, and tell her I'm coming to get her key. That's a 7-mile round trip. Don't worry about it, he said. An hour later, he returned with the key. I offered him some money, but he refused. Let's just say I needed the exercise, he said. Then, like a cowboy in the movies, he rode off into the sunset. Another example of loving kindness. I was 4 months pregnant with our first child, a woman writes, when our baby's heart stopped beating. I was devastated. As the days went on, I was nervous about returning to school. I'm a middle school teacher, and I didn't know how I could face the kids. And this past May, after 4 weeks of recovering, I finally walked into my empty classroom, and I turned on the lights. And glued to the wall were 100 colored paper butterflies, each with a handwritten message on it from current and past students. All of them had encouraging messages. Keep moving forward. Don't give up on God. Know that we love you. It was exactly what I needed. Another example of loving kindness. A woman writes, when my grandson Max told his mother, Andrea, to donate any check she would give him for his 21st birthday, Andrea got an idea. She handed Max's brother Charlie a video camera. Then she took out 21 $10 bills from the bank and bought 21 apples at the supermarket. When they spotted a homeless man, Andrea told him, today is my son Max's 21st birthday, and he asked me to give a gift to someone to help him celebrate. She handed the man a $10 bill and an apple. The man smiled into the camera and announced, happy birthday, Max. Soon they passed out their booty to men and women waiting in line at a soup kitchen. In a unified chorus, they wished Max, happy birthday. At a pizza parlor, Andrea left $50 and told the owners to feed the hungry. Happy birthday, Max, they shouted at Andrea's sister's office. Unable to contain her laughter or her tears, she bellowed into the camera, happy birthday, Max. What a great idea. I love that one. Well, you know, I had home health PT as I have recovered from my hip replacement. And a nurse had to come several times as part of that program. And she told me the story of how her son asked her if she was crying as she watched TV one day. And she reluctantly told him, admitted, yes, she was crying. And she explained to me she was so moved watching a large group of healthcare workers arriving at work at a New York hospital one morning. And as they filed in, people started to cheer. They were on their apartment balconies all down the block, clapping and cheering for the help of these caregivers during COVID-19. As the nurse told me, I got all teared up as well. We were both sort of sitting there crying together. You know, it has been said that Christ has no hands or feet or voice in the world except ours. Our loving acts are like a pebble cast into a pond. They create ripples that spread in all directions. You know, Jesus gave a powerful example of how to love one another through acts of loving kindness. In Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37, a lawyer stood up to put him to the test, saying, "Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" And Jesus answered, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." But then the man asked, "And who is my neighbor?" And Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers, who stripped him and beat him, and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion, and went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he set him on his own beast and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii, which is the equivalent of 2 days' wages, and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, "Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I come back." Jesus asked, "Which of these 3 do you think proved neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers?" And the man answered, "The one who showed mercy on him." And Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." I love to revisit this parable from time to time because it's a powerful example of unconditional love and compassion, not only for others, but for ourselves. The man robbed and beaten is the wounded part of us, as well as the wounded person in our society. The robbers are those special aspects of ourself and society who would deprive us of our good. The priest and Levite walk by, and they are the critical judge within us and in society that will ignore the wounded and the wounded part of ourselves. But the Samaritan comes with his healing love. And in Jesus' day, Samaritans were the outcasts. And it is the outcast within us, the shadow side, that we do not want to look at, that brings us our greatest gift, our health and wholeness. This story calls us to deeper compassion for self and others. We can also look back at our lives and think of the good Samaritans we have had and know that in those times, those moments, we were loved. And we too, as good Samaritans, have countless opportunities to love one another. When we go overboard with kindness or do it out of our neediness, then it can become codependency. There's a story of a couple like that, both caregivers, and their happily married life almost went on the rocks because of the presence in the household of old Aunt Emma. For 7 long years, she lived with them, always crotchety, always demanding, and finally the old girl died. And on their way back from the cemetery, the husband confessed to his wife, "Darling, if I didn't love you so much, I don't think I would have put up with having Aunt Emma in the house for all these years." And his wife looked at him absolutely aghast. "My Aunt Emma," she said. "I thought she was your Aunt Emma." Well, Mother Teresa said, "Spread love everywhere you go. First of all, in your own house, give love to your children, to your wife or husband, to a next-door neighbor. Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, kindness in your eyes, kindness in your smile, kindness in your warm greeting. Love is a fruit in season at all times and within reach of every hand. Through our loving kindness, we shine God's light in the world. Through our loving kindness, we shine God's light in the world. So in closing, here is Unity writer Emmett Fox's beautiful writing about love. There is no difficulty that enough love will not conquer, no disease that enough love will not heal, no door that enough love will not open, no gulf that enough love will not bridge, no wall that enough love will not throw down, no wrong that enough love will not set right. It makes no difference how deeply seated may be the trouble, how helpless the outlook, how muddled the tangle, how great the mistake. A sufficient realization of love will dissolve it all. If only you will love enough, you will be the happiest, most powerful being in the world. God bless you with loving kindness. Have a wonderful week.